Hello and welcome to another Battle Games in Middle-earth YouTube video. Another painting tutorial, this time of new Easterling hero, Brorgir, the Conjurer. Really lovely model. You can see there me spinning it around on the painting handle. And here I'll give it a good spray with Chaotic Red. That's how I do all my Easterlings. Then on to the armour, that iconic golden armour using Retributor armour from the GW paint range. And essentially there's so much gold on here, you just gotta layer it all on. I watered it down using a thinner from Army Painter. And I've basically just get every single bit. I actually end up having to go back and get some other bits later on because I missed the fingers out. I didn't realise the detail is such that on the fingers on this model there's actually tiny little armour plates, and if you really look closely you can see it, but I missed them on the first run pass, so do make sure you get those and give everything a really nice even layer of Retributor armour. It's a lovely gold paint, but you've got to make sure you get every single bit. Then we move on to a wash of Reikland Flesh Shade, which goes over everything, including that dark red undercoat. We give it, just restores some nice shadow, gives some basically some shadow to shade to work off of, before working on to Mephiston Red. This is the lovely red paint from GW, and it's the way I do all my Eastlings. I mean, if you might have already seen my other video of Rutabi, the other model in this pack, which I painted on the YouTube channel earlier on in the week, and you can see here I'm just using exactly the same style pretty much. I actually missed some steps out, but I ran out of battery basically and didn't realise. But you do get pretty much all the details here. So the one thing I'd say I struggled with is the cloak is very kind of sweeping. I mean, it's a gorgeous pose. I think probably one of the best new models GW's done in a long time for the Middle-earth range, and it's quite tricky to get around it, but I found to find my way around it fairly straightforward after a while. But it's this bit, painting the purple on the underside of the cloak, that I just took a lot of extra time on, because I don't want to get any purple on the rest of the armour or the rest of the red cloak. But I also get those little tassels that are blowing off the staff as well, the War Priest staff, the battle stave, which is a really cool thing. And this is the bit which I lost the battery on. I was just about to start with the Evil Sun Scarlet, highlighting the rest of the red. And this is how slow I normally do it. Usually I'm speeding up to 8 times the speed, and then BAM! The battery runs out, so we're on to the next stage, where I'm giving washes to the purple, so Druki Violet and Caraberg Crimson washes for that, before moving back onto the cloak again. And it's tricky under there, but it's not so hard. I use a bit of a mishmash of loads of different paints, Screamer Pink, Naggaroth Night and Demonette Hide, just kind of mixed together to try and find a nice balance somewhere. It's not going to be easy for you to replicate, I'll be honest, but if you go with something vaguely lighter than Naggaroth Night, and you should find yourself a nice tone of purple if you fancy following my scheme. Then we move on to the leather straps. I used Dryad Bark for this, and then highlight it up with Colm Browne in a few minutes time, but basically just going the straps on the feet, around the boots, around the belt, and I actually don't do the straps on every Easterling like this. I usually do them red, but I wanted a bit of contrast this time. I've already forgotten to talk about Rhinox Hide. That goes on the staff, which I'll highlight up later, and then we've got Liberator Gold now, and so we're building up that layer of lovely gold tone on the armour and everything else, before painting a bit of the battle stave. I actually made a bit of a boo-boo on the battle stave. In fact, I made a fair few boo-boos. This was painted fairly late at night. I catched the bit in the middle, which I thought was metal at first, and then on closer inspection realised I need to restore that back to Rhinox Hide, so that's exactly what I did. But either way, it's looking nice and sparkly. And there's the highlight there of all that leathery brown, using Colm Browne, which is going over the top of the Dryad Bark. I really like this this combination of brown actually at the moment. I don't know why, it's my new favourite. I use it for skin, dark toned skin, use it for leather, I use it for loads of different things, so it's just a nice kind of universal looking brown. Then using Doombull Brown or Dark Flesh, the old GW paint, I highlight up the staff. Then back onto the rest of the armour again. I'm just picking out more detail now with some Liberator armour. I was finishing off, touching up some of the earlier armour, and realised I didn't really do enough. It was mainly a kind of restoring back to the the Retributor armour from before. So run over everything, including those fingers there, as I mentioned earlier, with the Retributor armour. And the top of the staff, or stave, I also paint in gold. So you might see at right at the top, just above the blade, it's gold. Then Ironbreaker is used to highlight everything, including the armour and the spear a little bit. Just a nice little bright shine to these sharp edges. Then Screamer Pink for the purple. I'm really happy with the effect I've got using this Screamer Pink. Actually looks almost striped. It was meant to be a highlight, but I think this mix I did wasn't quite... it provided a kind of starker contrast than I intended, but somehow it kind of works and makes it look like a stripy purple, which adds to the sort of magical nature of him. Then finally, or pretty much there, we use Scorpion Green on the little eye in the middle just to provide a little contrast, makes it pop a bit. Abaddon Black is used for the shoes, just on their own, no highlights. And then I just finalise the cloak by adding Retributor armour to that trim. Looks fantastic. And there you go, you've got Brorgir. I must say, looking at it now in its kind of all its glory with a base, I dry brushed that, starting on the red and up through sort of bone and white colours to give it a bit of a deserty feel. Some tiny little grasses. You can get these new little, very, very short sort of grass patches, which I really enjoyed, and I think it just adds a little vibe to him. He just looks really smart. If you enjoyed this video, then please do like, comment and subscribe, and consider becoming a patron. There'll be more Easterlings on the channel and more on the way as ever.